Hey guys, welcome back to Mini Mindy TV, and I am back again with another video. Hey guys, welcome back. As you guys can see, I have a baby, and I am coming to give you guys my labor and delivery video. I didn't get a chance to record, let me sit up good. I didn't get a chance to record my labor because he was coming very fast and very serious. My labor was literally like 3 hours and 45 minutes long, and I just wanted to come and share my story with you guys. So basically, I was at work and I was washing a lunchbox, and all of a sudden I feel myself peeing on myself. So I'm like, here we go. Like, this is not something that was new to me because I had been peeing on myself for like 2 weeks, and I was 36 weeks, and I knew that at that point he could come at any time. So even though he was early, it was a strong survival rate because he was closer to 38 weeks than not. So I went running to the bathroom, and I'm like, oh, I'm peeing on myself, so let me go to the bathroom. So I emptied my bladder, and then I quickly realized when I went to go pull up my underwear and stuff again that I was leaking amniotic fluid. So I talked to my boss and I said, hey, I think I'm going into labor. I tried peeing, I peed, but I'm still leaking water. So she said, call your OB and we're gonna figure out what to do from there. And she's like all super excited and happy, and that's one thing I love about my boss, is that like she's always like so happy when it comes to anything with my baby, or like any new movements or anything like that. She's always so happy and supportive. So I called my OB and I said, hey, I think my water broke. What should I do? And she's like, well, go to the emergency room, because if your water didn't break, you don't want to go to labor and delivery. So go to the emergency room, they'll monitor you, and then if you're in labor, they'll take you to the labor and delivery room. So I'm like, all right, cool. So then my boss goes, well, you know what, if you feel comfortable, you drive your car to your house. That way, if you are in labor, your car will already be at your house, and then I'll take you to the hospital. So from the time it took me to get from my boss's house to my house, it was like 15 minutes, and right when I was getting out my car, my water broke completely. So it was like all in the front of my pants, all in the back. So I'm like waddling because I'm wet. And at that point, I hadn't had no contractions or anything. So I get up, I walk to my house, and I get inside my house, and she's like, you change and get cleaned up and stuff. I'm gonna walk your dog, and I'm gonna put him in, put the crate inside my car, and I'll take you to the hospital. So she goes and she gets Cody together and all of that, and then I had my first contraction when she was bringing Cody back in the house. And I was like, yep, this is it. I said, this is it, because it was like a pain that I've never felt before. Like, I've dealt with a lot of pains being pregnant, but it was a pain that like I knew for sure that I was in labor. And so she's like, we get in the car, she's driving, Cody acting all crazy because he knows something's up, and she's like, you need to eat, because if you don't eat right now, if you get into that hospital, they're not going to feed you and you're going to be hungry, because once you get there, you can't eat if you're in labor, because they don't want you to poop. So excuse me, sir, you too young to be lifting your head. And so I'm like, all right, I'm gonna eat these peanut butter crackers, and so I could have something to have some energy. So then I ate like 3 crackers and I had a contraction, and I was like, look, I said I ain't about to eat no more crackers because it almost made me throw up and everything. So I had my second contraction in the car. Then I had my third contraction right when we were getting on the freeway. So by the time I got to the hospital, I had already had 3 contractions. When I got in the emergency room, I was having my 4th contraction, and I was like, I need to sit down. So I sat down, and then it was a long line that you had to wait. And my boss cut that line. She said, look, she's in labor. Her contractions are 4 minutes apart. She needs help right now. So she handed her like my insurance and my ID and all of that stuff, and the security guard came with a wheelchair, and I got in a wheelchair, and then the nurse came and got me, and they took me back to triage. So at that point I was having my 5th contraction, and I was like, look, I said, I need whatever med you got right now because I literally cannot do this without meds. Because at that point, like, my contractions started at 4 minutes apart. So like usually like people have time to, you know, have contractions and it wind down, and they are home and they wait until it's 4 minutes, 5 minutes apart before they start traveling to the hospital. But mine started at 4 minutes apart. So I was like, I need meds right now. And she's like, well, we can't give you anything until we figure out if you're in labor or not. So I'm like, fuck, like, I am in pain. These contractions are kicking my ass. And that's when I realized how important it is to like breathe through your contractions. Because like if you fight it, it's gonna make it worse because you tensing up your body and you're not letting it just come and go. So like it's very important to breathe, because once you breathe through it, it makes it a little less painful. Like it still hurt like hell, but it makes it a little less painful when you actually breathe through it, because you're getting oxygen. Oh wow, I can't even talk. You're getting oxygen to yourself and to your baby. So then they put me on the bed back in triage, and I'm like, look, I really need meds. Like I hurt so bad, like it hurts a lot. And she's like, well, we can't give you anything until we figure out what's going on. So then the doctor came in. She immediately goes into the cabinets and she starts pulling out these speculums and all this shit. And I'm like, ma'am, please. I said, if you're going to use that, please be gentle with it. And she was like, well, if I look down there and I see water, she's like, if I look down there and I see water, I won't even put this in, and I'll just check your cervix. So I'm like, all right, cool beans, like whatever you need to do, but like I need meds. And so when I opened my legs, she's seen like all the puddle of water, and she was like, yeah, you're definitely in labor. So she checked my cervix, and she was like, oh wow, she was like, you're 6 centimeters and 80% effaced. And I'm like, okay, good, like can I get my medicine? And so she starts going through the options of like what the medicines are, and what medicines I can use right now, and what medicines I can use later in labor, and all of that. So I'm like, okay, great. So then I started having another contraction, and she was like, well, we're gonna get a room set up for you, and once we get the room set up, I'll have somebody come and give you your medicine. So a nurse comes in and she's doing my IV and all of that stuff, and then I'm having another contraction. So once all of that is done, she gets the IV line in and gets me started on fluids and all of that stuff. Another nurse comes with a wheelchair, and she's like, we're going to transfer you to the labor room. So when I got up, I started having another contraction, and it was like so bad. Like, I thought all those other 5 contractions that I had was like real bad, but that one was like the worst one. And I was like, oh my God. And I said, I need to sit down. So I went and I sat on the toilet, and then all of a sudden I felt like I needed to poop. And I was like, I really need to poop. And then the contraction was like so bad, and it lasts so long, that like I was sitting on the toilet and I was like bearing down, like not on purpose, but like I was also having to throw up. Like, it was so much going on. And then she was like, whatever you do, don't bear down, because that could be your baby coming out. And I was trying so hard not to bear down, but like at the same time, like I think I bared down twice, because it was just hurting so bad. And it's like your body just goes to do it, like especially like when you're in that position, like your body just does it for you. So then once the contraction passed, I got in a wheelchair real fast, and they rolled me over to the other side. And then when I got in the bed, that's when I really felt like I needed to poop. And I was like, look, I said, I need to poop right now. And she was like, well, I just checked you, but let me check you again. And when she checked my cervix, this boy was ready. He was ready to come out. And so all the doctors came rushing in, and I was like, what the fuck? Like, it was like 5 people that came running in. And so like my anxiety started like getting bad, because I'm like, damn, like all these people in here. And so my boss was just like, look, she was like, you gotta calm down, you know, just do whatever they tell you to do, because right now the most important thing is your baby. And that's all I kept thinking. The most important thing is my baby. The most important thing is my baby. And at that point, I hadn't had any meds. I hadn't had an epidural. I haven't had the medicine they put in the IV. Nothing. Because he was just ready to come out. So then she said, on your next contraction, we're gonna push. And I'm like, cool, like I'm just trying to get this baby out, if this is what we doing. And so I pushed, and I didn't really know how to push. So I was like, I don't really know like what I'm doing. So I was pushing, but I wasn't pushing hard enough to like get him to come out. So I'm gonna start this over, because my timing is about to stop. Yeah, so sorry, I had to start the timer over because it was almost time for it to cut off. But I didn't really know how to push. So once I got the hang of pushing, I was like, oh, he about to be out in like 2.5 seconds. And when they talk about that ring of fire, no, it don't feel like a ring of fire. It feels like hell coming out your coochie, because it hurts so bad. Like, the head is not the hard part, because the head molds to your body, to, you know, your vagina, so, you know, it don't tear. But them shoulders, that's a burn that I wouldn't wish on nobody. I wouldn't wish on my worst enemy that burn, because it literally feels like hell coming out your vagina. So once he came out, I was so happy and like so relieved that he was out, because that was the hardest part, was pushing him out. And even like when they got the placenta out and all that stuff, none of that stuff like really hurt. As far as like them getting the placenta out, what did hurt though is them pushing down like on my uterus to get like any excess blood or anything out. But he came out like a champ. He came out fast and furious, and from start to finish I was in labor for 3 hours. And you know, when he came out, he basically like almost flew out with how hard I was pushing. And then he peed on everybody. He peed on me. He peed on the doctors. He peed on everybody. But I'm so happy that he's out and he's healthy, and he's just everything. Like, I just love him so much, and he is literally the best decision that I've ever made, like, my entire life. And I'm happy that, you know, being a mom was something that I really wanted, and now that I'm a mom, I'm gonna fuck shit up, period. Like, I'm just so happy, and I just love him so much. And yeah, so he is here, and in my next video I will introduce him to you guys. And I know a lot of you have been asking to see him and stuff like that, so I will introduce him to you guys in the next video and let you guys know what his name is. So thank you so much for all the love and all the support. Thank you for watching, commenting, and subscribing. And like I say, I catch you on the flip, so don't flop. And I see you again next video, guys. Bye.
Sometimes we're insecure, we're fragile. Sometimes we